The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
King Solomon is now avenging everybody that did wrong to King David. I mean, the guy just killed Adonijah, and that was his brother. And then he killed Joab, and that was his cousin. Oh, Shimei, why did you get yourself into this mess?
Bring Shimei to me.
Yes, my lord.
Shimei, is that you?
Please have mercy, my lord.
Shimei, build yourself a house in Jerusalem.
Huh?
And live there. You are not to leave there. For on the day you do leave and cross the river Kidron, you will know for sure that you will die. Your blood will be on your own head.
Huh? You're not gonna kill me? Thank you, my lord. Your wish is my command. My servants have caused me so much trouble. They know that by the king's decree, I am not allowed to leave the city. And yet I have to come here just to find some runaway servants. I just hope the king doesn't find out about this. Shimei has disobeyed Jerusalem and left the city.
What? You mean to tell me that Shimei left Jerusalem? I don't care that it's been 3 years. He made a promise. Bring him to me now.
My lord, I can explain.
Shimei, did I not make you promise by the Lord and tell you of the danger, saying you will know for sure that the day you leave and go anywhere, you will die? And you said to me, Shimei, what I have said is good. So then, why have you not kept the promise of the Lord? Why have you not done what I told you to do?
My lord, there was a pressing issue that needed my attention. I can explain.
Now, Shimei, you know in your heart all the bad things you did to my father David. So the Lord will return your sin upon your own head. But good will come to King Solomon, and the throne of David will keep its place before the Lord forever. Benaiah, strike him down.
My lord, please.
Solomon is now king of Israel and Judah. But before his father David passed away, he left Solomon some advice to make sure that the start of his reign would go off smoothly. This week we are discussing 1 Kings chapter 2 and the establishing of Solomon's kingdom. All right. Welcome back to another episode of a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts,
Nakhaz Gay
and Earl Roberts, second. So yeah, we're trying a new format. Hopefully you guys like it. Playing around with some features where we can be sitting at the same table, since I hear a lot of people like when we're at the table. But when we're so far apart. But yeah, man. So how was your week, bro?
My week was hard, bro. I had a long week. Bro. I had a long week, and it's like I wasn't even as productive in my job as I wanted to be.
Mercy.
Bro, honestly, sometimes the amount of things that's on my plate, it gets very overwhelming, bro. Bro, even lifestyle changes, bro. Like me and my wife Ayana, we've been in the gym like 4 times this week.
I see y'all shooting in the gym.
Yeah, bro. We hooping, we lifting, and consistency. Like we just pushing each other to be consistent. But that take a lot of work, bro. Even eating right, and just changing anything in your diet and anything in your day, and you're trying to be intentional. That takes effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have a high demanding work schedule, and then just other different ventures that you're working on, and they all require so much out of you.
Yep.
It's a lot, bro. Like I had uploaded the podcast, the audio from Tuesday night, bro, but it failed. I didn't until last night. And so because when you had sent me the cover art, I'm like, oh yeah, you saw it. And so you giving me that so I can work on the video, you know? But when I checked last night, it was like 9 or 10. I was like, this wasn't even uploaded, bro. You could have been on it, you know? And that's just how hectic my week been. Like I didn't even verify certain things, you know?
Bro, trust me, I know the feeling, man. My week, I think, man, because I mean, the listeners don't probably know, but at least guess family and close friends probably know, but like I have an exam on Tuesday that I've been studying for like the past 4+ months.
Yeah,
right?
You're in the fourth quarter.
Bro, I'm in the 2-minute drill, bro.
Yeah.
I'm running that last bit of offense, right?
Yeah.
Man, so like for me, you see, like I got all my intros out like a couple weeks ago. I was like, okay, let me get the cover out to him quickly, so I'm gonna be worrying about that early in the week. I was like, bro, like in this week, it was like work compounded, right? And then for me, it's like the added stress because every afternoon from like 7 till 10, 11, I'm studying and practicing problems, right? So it's like the added stress I'm putting on myself for the exam and work that just seems more stressful because I'm already kind of stressed about the exam. I'm tired. Man, it's just been a crazy week. And even today, man, it's just like a bunch of, as we call them, fire drills happened today that you need to like just put out these fires and calm some clients' nerves and, you know, but man, so, I guess for me, it's just like, I even had to take a step back because like, I was late to the recording tonight and I was just driving back home. I was looking up at the sky and I was like, man, what are you stressing for, bro? The stars you seen up there, your God created. Like, I don't know, man. Like I was reminded of Hebrew 11:6, for it is impossible to please God without faith. Faith.
Yep.
And I'm just here sitting like, man, like, where's your faith? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you have a lot of stuff on your plate. You have a lot of things going on. You're super anxious about this test. But like, where's your faith, man? Like faith and fear can't coexist. You can't be so fearful on the podcast preaching and talking faith in your own personal life right here. You come up against a little obstacle, your faith getting shaken and you're worried, you're terrified, you're anxious. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I was just reminded like, yo,
I heard a pastor say, his grandmother used to say, if you're going to pray, why worry?
Exactly.
If you're going to worry, why pray? You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to worry, like, if that's what you want to do, why you even to pray? Because that's like defeating the purpose.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. So it's like, yeah, man, just trying to keep the faith. And the funny thing about it, by the time this podcast episode comes out, one, naturally, I've already taken the test. And shoot, by this point, I might already have the results. So God's willing, people listening, hopefully your boy passed.
Congratulations, bro. By the time
I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. God's willing. So yeah, man, that's pretty much been my week. And then also, I guess that counts as the weekly thought. And also something else I wanted to talk about, which I kind of brought up to you earlier this week too, right? And it was just me kind of being mind-boggled at how much people, I shouldn't say how much people, there's a lot of people out there who believe certain things about the Bible that I would say just isn't in the Bible. Like, I heard someone say this week that Cain was not Adam's son. That Cain was the son of the serpent and Eve. And I heard that before, right? Not like someone was just playing, but there are actually people out there who double down on this. And like Cain descendants are running amok in the world. And I don't know, man. I just wanted to address it. I just felt like, okay, for people who do believe this, we could go back to Genesis.
I mean, in the world where you just want to live in like some made up utopia land, you are free reign to believe whatever you want to believe. You understand? But if you don't believe something, that don't make it false. And if you believe something, that don't make it true. You know, these things we have to understand, we have to recognize. And so the fact that you know of Cain and Abel, it only comes from the Bible. It's the only literature that goes through this. You know, the Bible, the Torah, you know what I'm saying, Hebrew literature. That is where this comes from. And so this same book that introduced Cain to you, it says, and this is a vague quote, just from the top of memory, Adam knew Eve, and they bore a son named Cain. That's King James.
That was pretty spot on. I mean,
yeah, bro. Like Adam knew Eve, and for those who want to get caught up on the term "knew," that's talking about they conceived, like, you know, sex or whatever. And if you look in other translations, they could say they, you know, made Cain and they had Cain and stuff like that. It's in writing, and you cannot deny what it is saying. And so if you want to say, oh, that don't make sense, and you want to speculate this and that and the third, you have free reign to do that. Like, it is not illegal, you understand? But it is very it's unwise, and it's very irresponsible. I think that's the word I was looking for. Like, what is the basis of this thought? You know?
Go for it. Keep going.
If the Bible is a fairy tale land to you, all right, cool. And we don't even have to have these conversations, you know? But if you believe that the Bible is true, you believe that Cain actually exists, for you to have such a baseless thought on that, it just shows me that you rather lean onto your understanding or someone else's understanding rather than lean on the Bible.
I mean, you said it perfectly, man, because I'm like, okay, Genesis 4, verse 1. Like, now Adam knew his wife, she conceived and bore Cain. The Bible telling you how Cain got into this world. And even for a fact, if you think, okay, the descendants of Cain still lived. I mean, obviously Cain did have descendants after this. The Bible talks about them. Yeah. Remember, you fast forward like 6 more chapters, and not even 6. Anyway, the flood happened. Mm-hmm. And so now, if you only believe that 8 people lived in the flood, and all of them being Noah, his wife, and his sons and their wives, how could the descendants of Cain even survive the flood?
I'll be honest with you. Unless you being semantic, there's no way that could make sense, because unless you're being semantic and saying that, you know, the text that say the sons of God marry the daughters of men. Right? No. Yeah, the sons of God marry the daughters of men. Unless you were trying to tell me that Noah's wife, whom we don't have her name is Noah's wife, and as described in the Bible, so we can't really trace who her family is. Unless you're telling me Noah's wife is a descendant of Cain, and that's your basis for saying that the descendants of Cain were there after. That's the only way. That is literally the only way. But by that definition, the descendants of Seth are also there. And we know that the lineage conversation is really only talking about the male line. So the descendants of Cain, there's no way. There's no way they survived the flood. We know only Noah and his children survived the flood, you know?
It's a fact, man. That's a fact. So I don't know. I just felt like it's worth being said. A couple other things I probably wanted to get out, but I'll save them for a later date. Like, it's just interesting because I feel like certain things regarding the Bible sounds juicy because we want to know the full story. Because in the Bahamas, we have a paper called The Punch. That's more of a juicy paper. It's more tabloidish.
It's like the Inquirer, the National Inquisitor or Inquirer. I can't remember what this term, but they have stuff like that in America too, where it's like it's really just fabricated stuff. Like,
yeah. So I mean, so the Bible sometimes gives us like, okay, we're missing some pieces of the puzzle of the story. So like, okay, why was Cain so evil if Abel was so good and Seth was so good? You're like, oh, this makes more sense because, oh, if Cain came from the devil, then naturally, but no, it just shows how wicked man himself can be. So again, like,
and it's so funny because Cain was so evil, quote unquote. But number one, if you have, let's say a third of the angels that were expelled from heaven, and it's only 4 people on the earth, Adam, Eve, and his 2 sons, probably more. He probably had other daughters and sons and stuff or whatever.
But still, very small sample size to your point. Keep going.
But let's say all of those thousands, if not millions, maybe billions of angels who are tempting you the only, this family is the only target in the world. Like, how hard is it to believe that 1 out of 4 people mentioned in this story until now end up being quote unquote evil? And it's funny because how evil was Cain? He was offering sacrifice to God. He was talking to God. He feared God. It wasn't even that Cain ain't evil in the sense that we looking at, like, Cain ain't evil in the sense of like the devil's level of evil, you know. Cain is evil in the sense that he wanted to worship God in a traditional way. And so in the same way, during the Dark Ages, when the quote unquote Christian church, which was mainly Catholic at the time, because this was before the Reformation, how they wanted to worship God in a man-made way, and they killed people, they persecuted Christians who did not do the same. In the same way, the Pharisees wanted to worship God in a man-made way, and they persecuted the apostles. They killed Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like, they did all of these things in order for their religion or their tradition to continue. That is the same thing what Cain did. So this evil, we have to be able to identify that if we think Cain is the spawn of Satan because of this, bro, it's many of them there every day. Like, a lot of Satan have plenty children around today. It's so much people getting persecuted for religious freedoms and stuff like that, bro. Like, and I'm not here to justify Cain, but what I'm saying is the problem with Cain and Abel has never ended, and it'll continue as time progresses. There's always going to be people, especially when they talk about the mark of the beast and Revelation and end time prophecy. There are going to be people, the vast majority of people that are just like Cain, that would kill those, that persecute those who do not have the mark of the beast in the end times.
Boy, that's a fact. That's a fact. Ooh, that's talking about the next thing I want to talk about. But we have a whole episode.
It's right there.
It's right there. It's right there. But don't worry, that will be saved for another time. Feel like, yeah. Me and Kazi will plan an episode to talk about just common misconceptions.
Yeah.
The rapture, the tribulation, all of these things.
Ooh.
It's so interesting because as like we see it in the Bible when the early church, we look at like Acts and some of these other books when the church was forming, just because there were such philosophical differences and theological differences in the church. And think about it today. There are many denominations under Christianity.
Yes.
It's so funny. Growing up, before I knew better, I just thought they were all different religions. But it's mind-boggling that one religion has so many sub-branches. And so now, not casting dispersion on any, you come along with different trends of thinking about some serious stuff as it pertains to Christianity. And so sometimes it's like reminded me of like the book of Luke, when Luke was writing the Theodophilus or Theolophus. His name is like, hey, there's a bunch of things going on right now. Let me set the record straight for you. And I feel like, especially in these days, there's a lot of different theologies out there. Not saying that me and Kazi have the answer, but at the same time, I'm like, certain things, let's just take back to the Bible and prove it with the Bible, because the Bible doesn't need any additional commentary. Commentary is nice. Don't get me wrong. I read biblical commentary, but I still try to back it up with the Bible. I read other religious books. I still try to back it up with the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So again, commentary alone shouldn't just be your bread and butter. Because again, you can have a commentary that's blatantly wrong. I've read stuff on some of the well-known sites that's just blatantly not supported by the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, bro, like, and sometimes the commentary, it human error. Like I'm not saying that these people are being malicious or anything like that. But sometimes you could just be off. And I've seen that, like, I was watching a video on kings. One video, they say it was 40 kings in the book of Kings. And when I Google it, everybody say it was 39. You know, I believe that they exclude Solomon when they talk about the kings, because, you know, Solomon had a big story and then everybody else was kind of summarized. I haven't counted for myself, but one of these are wrong. That's just what it is. You know, someone, like, we're not always going to get it right. I just spoke about this the other day, bro. I just had a sermon on Wednesday past, bro. Well, it's probably like 3 weeks ago or however long. But
this one, yeah.
Right. But I was taught that Psalm 118 is the very middle, it's the very center of the Bible from a chapter perspective. And somebody said that to me, and I sent it to you because I'm like, oh yeah, this is true. Everybody knows this, but it's so interesting, right? But I manually counted, bro. It is not. Psalm 117 is the middle of the King James and the New International Version. And what's so interesting is that Psalm 118 verse 8 says that it is better to put your trust in God than to put your confidence in man. But if we was putting our trust in the Lord, we would go to the source instead of getting our information from a second-hand source, you know? Because if my pastor teaching me stuff and I take it at face value and I never fact check, my trust is in my pastor. I trust you to be perfect. If your trust is in a Breath of Fresh Air podcast and you never do your study, that's why we have the disclaimer, you know, at the beginning and the ending. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we are not God. We are fallible beings, which means that we are prone to error, you know? And so if you want something that is a source of truth, it should be the Bible. If you are a Christian, the Bible should be on the pinnacle of truth for you. That should be the number one source of truth. And everything else should defer to that book and this theology.
I definitely agree, man. I definitely agree. So in transition, if you like our content, like and subscribe, share with a friend. Definitely, hopefully everyone's preparing for, you know, a good holiday season, which we'll have to talk about that at some point, what we're going to do. On the end of the year episode, what I talked about, but that's story for off mic. So in this week's episode, we are in 1 Kings chapter 2. And I'm sure the title probably gave it away. Last week, we saw that Adonijah wanted to become king, but the only problem is that God had already anointed, or God had already said that Solomon, David's youngest son, the son that he had with Bathsheba, should be the next king of Israel. Adonijah, who was a bit, well, I wouldn't even say a bit, who was much older, was the oldest surviving son. We went through how the several past sons had already died, and one was assumed to be dead because Adonijah was like the fourth son. But we see how he starts, essentially crafted a plan to claim the throne for himself. And David, who was already old, and I want to say feeble, but very old, needed help staying warm. He got up and said, you know what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give Solomon the proper tools to show that he is king, the anointing. He's going to ride on my mule. He's going to sit on my throne. The biggest thing was the anointing. So we saw all of that last week. Definitely check that out. And so now we're fast forwarding. Solomon is king. And so now we're going to get into some of the things that David left behind for Solomon to do. I actually think it's going to be a really good episode and a lot of good things to talk about.
Yep.
So reading 1 Kings chapter 2. In the days of David, now the days of David drew near that he should die. And he, put this here, my apologies, that he should die. And he charged Solomon, his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be strong before and prove yourself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord your God. Walk in his ways to keep his statutes, his commandments, his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do and wherever you turn, and that the Lord may fulfill his word which he spoke concerning me, saying, if your sons take heed to their way, to walk before me in the truth with all their heart and with all their soul. He said, you shall not lack a man on the throne of Israel.
And that's like a forever ordinance, because even in Second Samuel, I think it's chapter 7, when David was talking to Nathan about building a temple, and God told him, yo, your son gonna build a temple, bro, and your seed is gonna reign forever, and so the actual goal was for David's seed to continue right until the Messiah comes to die for our sins. The Redeemer comes. And David is basically sharing this information with his son. Yo, if you do right, and your descendants do right, we good. We'll never have to worry about our throne being in jeopardy.
Yeah, like you be like, you see what happened to Saul?
Yep.
Now,
that's a prime example.
The funny thing about it is like Saul is but a story to these people now. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Like he was only one king ago, but David had such a lengthy reign.
Yep.
Saul is but like a story. Like Solomon has to read about Saul.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Definitely.
Just like how we reading about Saul, this is like Solomon has something to read about Saul.
Yeah.
Okay, so now in verse 5, moreover, you know also what Joab, this is where it gets funny. Joab, the son of Zeruiah, did to me, and what he did to the two commanders of the armies of Israel, Abner, the son of Ner, and Amasa, the son of Jether, whom he killed. And so just in case. And I go, David, like, hey, but moreover, you know what he do, right? But just in case you forget. No, he killed him. And he shared, go for it?
No, go on. Let's go in further.
And he shared the blood of war in peacetime and put the blood of war on his belt that was around his waist and on his sandals that were on his feet. Therefore, do according to your wisdom and do not let his gray hair go down to the grave in peace.
For context.
Mercy.
For context. Solomon and Joab are first cousins. No, second. They're first cousins, yeah. No, because David's sister is Joab's parent or his brother or whatever. So they're first cousins.
Quite literally.
Joab is David's nephew. Mind you, Joab may be older than him just because the way.
Well, we know Joab should be way older at this point.
No, I'm talking about older than David. Okay. Because remember, David was the youngest, right? And so, but Joab is obviously way older than Solomon. Solomon, I believe, is a young man. I think Solomon is probably like 16, 17. This is Nakhaz's idea. I don't have no proof of this or whatever, but I think he's young. I don't think he's like that mature in age. And so now David, who has given Joab numerous passes, is now on his deathbed saying, don't forget what Joab do to me, son. I had two commanders who I didn't like, and he killed them. He killed them in cold blood.
Cold blood.
And then guess what else? You remember your brother? He ain't mentioned this now, right? But this is what I thinking. You remember your brother, bro? He killed him. See, because truthfully, I always used to wonder why. Because this seems so out of nowhere, bro. This seems so David, come on, bro. You could have killed this man a long time, right? But I get it. You killed Joab. That might have caused an uproar. You understand what I'm saying? You couldn't have been the one to have him killed because you had already given him passes and he had helped you out when you had conspired to kill Uriah. You understand? So y'all kind of owe each other. But the truth is the truth. David has paid for his sins many times, right? But this Joab, he just continued to get away scot-free. And even in my death, I can't die happy knowing that this man could get away. So I got to tell you, justice has to be served.
But at the same time, too, it was like, bro, if I leave Joab around, he going to cause you stress.
That's true.
we didn't see, he didn't try side with Adonijah at this point. Now, and this coming from a Joab stand, we all know, I was pulling for Joab and justifying some of...
You could side with David because David doing what Joab would do in the situation. You see what I'm saying? So you was cut off loose ends, bro. You see what I'm saying? Like, you was make sure everything intact. You know what I mean? Like,
what can I say?
It just so happened Joab at the short end of the stick this time.
Yeah, the short end of the stick.
But the game is the game, though. The game is the game.
But so the question still bears, though, like, why did David wait? And I'm wondering if, like, Joab just had some dirt on him or something. Because, like, why did David wait? Because...
So I think that you touched on it. Joab is going to be a problem for Solomon. Because remember Abner. Abner was the commander for Saul, right? And Abner was a problem for David until Saul's son started to get on Abner's nerve. And he's like, no, I just working with David, right? And it's kind of the same situation. Joab was the commander for David, right? But Joab wanted, what's the son's name? Adonijah. He wanted Adonijah to be his king. And Adonijah is still alive. And now y'all embarrassed because y'all went and conspired against them. And now Solomon have to throw him. This guy is going to be a snare for you. And then number two, it can be seen as treason because y'all conspired to put another king on the throne while I right here and alive. You understand? Y'all don't know who, and we don't do stuff like this. Now, you could be confused that we act like other nations because David just counted the census. You understand? Because David, from time to time, would try to act like like when David took Bathsheba as king, that's something that a other nation king would do. Counting the census and taking pride in your army, that's something what the other nation's king would do. And Joab is trying to act like other nations as well. You feel me? We politicking this, right? And then guess what else? Use the oldest lawful son. That ain't in the Torah. That ain't in Deuteronomy. You know what I mean? But that's how they doing it. And so now, because y'all ain't even invite me to king. Y'all ain't invite his sons. Y'all conspiring against me. So David, like, bro, this is an act of treason, number one. So I have you you know what it is when you let something slide, right? But you know, man, this person needs to be punished. But if I punish you now, it can look bad because I already let you slide. So Joab give him another reason. He give him an out. And now David telling Solomon, remember everything this man do. He's a war criminal. You feel me? And so
that's a fact, though. I mean, because Joab did cause David a lot of stress and a lot of grief.
Yeah.
A lot of stress and a lot of grief. And Joab's character was so complex. Because at the same time, he was still so loyal to David.
Yes.
That he was doing David's dirty work.
Yes.
Like he was David's dark king, for lack of a better word. Like the stuff David
assassin.
That's literally what Joab was. Like this needs to happen, even though it might not be the right thing. The king might not want it, a la Absalom. Honestly, a la Amasa and Abner. But again, what is right is not always righteous every time.
That's true.
And that's kind of the predicament that Joab found himself in a lot of times. Even though I was saying that was probably some of the actions I might have done. Again, that does not make it righteous. So, yeah, rip to Joab, but we're gonna see how that story ends. So now in verse 10, so David rested. Oh, did I missing something? No, yeah, I did. Okay, verse 7. But show kindness to Barzillai the Gileadite, and let him be among those who eat at your table, for so they came to me when I fled from Absalom, your brother. And for those who remember, like that's the one who when he was coming back, he was like, yo, come stay with me. And he was like, yo, I'm too old. Like, let my son go. And we see David made the promise saying, yeah, your son will always eat at my table for the rest of his time. So now David's telling Solomon, hey, honor this vow that I made to these people because of the kindness they showed me when I was in a time of trouble and had to flee the capital. So, hey, I want you to keep my vow to these people. And now verse 8, another one. And see, you have here with you Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benjamite from Bahurim, who cursed me with malicious curse in the day I went to Mahanaim. But he came down to meet me at the Jordan, and I swore to him by the Lord, saying, I will not put you to death with the sword. Right? Now, therefore, do not hold him guiltless, for you are a wise man. And something else I want to hit on with that same part too, right? But we'll come back to that. And for you are a wise man, and know what you ought to do with him. But bring his gray hair down to the grave with blood. So it's so funny, right? So we see David saying, all right, I made a vow with you. I am honoring my vow.
Yes.
I did not kill you.
No.
All the days of my life, you were alive.
I didn't say you wasn't going to die. I didn't say you wasn't going to get killed. Exactly. I said, I will not put you to the sword.
Exactly. So now we see David saying, guess what? You did curse God's anointed, my friend. What Abishai wanted to do, but David was on his humble track.
Yep. So interesting.
At this rate, he might as well let Abishai do it. But David's saying, no, now is not the time.
Yeah, now wasn't the time. And then you could see Abishai, they look like they take a little delight in punishing people.
They wasn't really doing it for the right reason. They wasn't doing it for like
for God's honor. This was an indignation.
Exactly.
Indignation.
I'm pretty sure it says somewhere in the Bible, again, I could be wrong, like our conversation earlier, but it says like God does not delight in punishing his children.
Oh, no, yeah, that's in Ezekiel.
I just throw a little disclaimer there, right? God does not delight in punishing his children. Abishai and Joab, no, they delighted in killing.
Oh, yeah. For sure. So
David might have some type of contrition. Abishai and Joab, no, they was ready for it. No, we ain't killing you because it's the right thing to do. We killing you because you make us mad and we're getting rid of you type thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we killed for last, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you actually cursing and you following us and you being annoying. We can put an end to that.
Because we see Abishai try to catch David on the technicality too.
Yeah.
Who said he can't curse God's anointed? He is cursing God's anointed. Please let me do this.
Hey.
Oh my. So the next thing with the point out too now is you see how it's so interesting that David is referring to Solomon as wise a few of these times. And I mean, we know the story that's coming. But it's so interesting that his character is already being described as wise even before that time has come.
And so we know, the way he conducted himself with God in the early stages, and that shows wisdom. So you could tell Solomon was actually wise beforehand. But when it came to God, God set him apart.
For real. So now in verse 10, so David rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of David. The period that David reigned over Israel was 40 years. 7 years he reigned in Hebron, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years. Then Solomon sat on the throne of his father David, and his kingdom was firmly established. What's the city of David, bro?
The city of David, honestly, bro, in context, it's Jerusalem, right? But whenever someone say the city of David, I automatically just think Bethlehem.
Me too.
Like every time.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, because in my head I was like, Bethlehem?
Right.
So it's just interesting because they say he was buried in the city of David, and I'm like,
well, I guess that means Bethlehem then. I think that means Bethlehem. I don't know, but whenever I think city of David, it's automatically Bethlehem in my mind, and I'm sure we could verify this. But
I mean, it's called the city of David, right? Anyway, probably should look this up.
Is Jerusalem called that though?
Because Jerusalem, I feel like Jerusalem was existing before they even got into Canaan for real. Because wasn't
Salem, right? Yeah,
exactly.
So 40 times, I just Googled it. 40 times in the Old Testament, Jerusalem is referred to as the city of David, right? And so we know David ain't make the city, right? But he ain't start the city, but you could make the city, basically. You know, you
Facts.
make the city what it was, you know. Let me see what they say about Bethlehem. See, but I don't know. Is Bethlehem the city of David?
Quick Google search on
Right.
the pod, live.
Right. And there's someone talking to Luke, right? Until Luke's gospel, Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and the family of David. So now the only other question is Bethlehem in Jerusalem? This a crazy tangent.
We are on a tangent.
This is a crazy
We
tangent.
are literally welcoming the podcast world to like our off-pod conversations and our own personal conversations. This is what we'll be doing a lot when we go into a deep dive on a topic on the Bible like this. Me and Kaz would just be in there in silence, just reading. Hey, but you see this?
Right, bro. It just get deep sometimes. But according to Wikipedia, Bethlehem is about 10 kilometers, which is
That's far.
6.2 miles south of Jerusalem.
But
So,
six miles ain't that. Because, okay, we on a tangent, we will bring it back, right?
Yeah.
But I live in Kissimmee. But to everyone else, I live in Orlando. And I live like 20 miles outside of Orlando.
right. Same with me, bro.
So it's interesting. So I guess, I don't know. I guess it's Jerusalem, because I'm saying Jerusalem, but for some reason it's like I think like again in Luke and sometimes they mention the city of David as being Bethlehem. So it's interesting, to be determined.
Yeah, it took me to turn.
Someone comment down below if you're
Please help us out.
100% sure. Twigman, we need you.
Right, Twigman, we need you.
Send out the twig symbol in the sky. All right. So, and then David has, his time has come. It's interesting. So now this is like the official end of the arc of David, a man after God's own heart. And we see, boy, his life was troubled straight up until the end.
Right. So it's interesting though. And I get how, and bro, I ain't really prepared to have this conversation, but I still can mention it. So I get how people sometimes is not understand death, right? Because it says, so David rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of David, right? Now obviously, from this, you could see that death and rest is synonymous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because death is like a sleep. The dead know nothing. We understand that, right? But some people would take the with his fathers and say, oh, yeah, see, he with them. And assume that means he with them in heaven. But nothing there says that his fathers was even in heaven. Because we know that Joseph was buried back in Canaan, in these same areas. All of the patriarchs wanted to be buried in the same land,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually what is being alluded to here.
Yeah, and I mean that's a phrase we're gonna come across a lot as we go through Kings and Chronicles. It's gonna be a common phrase we repeat often. So I'm kind of glad you set like the precedence for that.
Yeah.
So now in verse 13, now Adonijah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon. So she said, do you come peaceably?
You come in peace.
Yeah. And so, okay, just to set the scene again, this makes sense because now here's what happened. You tried to put yourself as king. My son is sitting on the throne as the actual rightful king.
Mm-hmm.
You are coming to me and not even to go into your brother. I mean, because again, that's still your brother. So you're coming to me and not going to your brother. I got to figure out, hey, you come in peace, you're coming to kill me. Let me know how I should be operating right now. Right? And so he said, I come peacefully. Moreover, he said, I have something to say to you. I could just imagine. Like, say it. Like,
so this seems so odd to me because like, why are you coming to my mommy? Like from Solomon perspective, it's like, bro, why are you talking to my mother, bro? You know how it is when it comes to like extended families like this, you know, especially royalty. A lot of times the mothers don't, or the wives don't get along. You know, they probably don't have enough time to be around each other and see the character, so they assume things, or, you know, his family might not like Bathsheba because of the circumstances, you know what I mean? And now Bathsheba's son get the throne, and, you know, now you coming to me, Bathsheba, who was one of the main people responsible for getting David to make the decision to have Solomon anointed as king, right? And I don't know if you coming to me because of that. Like, do you think I conspired against you? Because I did, but it wasn't really conspiring against you. It was conspiring for Solomon, because Solomon should have been there to begin with, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So now what business you have with me? That's your brother. You understand me? And we barely related. I'm your stepmother, but I come way after the fact. You know what I'm saying? So what you saying? What you come here for? Like, unless it's violence.
Really, like, why are you here? So now we see in verse 15, then he said, you know that the kingdom was mine, and that all Israel had their expectations on me that I should reign. However, the kingdom has been turned over and has become my brother's, for it was with him.
For it was his from the Lord.
From the Lord. Now I ask you one petition. Do not deny me.
This seems a little pushy.
Like, bro, what? Sounds kind of delusional to me.
See, but we don't get torn with the Bible, right? But at face value, this sounds like you coming to Solomon's mother trying to pressure her. You know, this was mine, right? I mean, but all right, cool. God give it to them. Yeah. But I asking you something, don't deny me. It could be like, please don't deny me. Like, don't deny me. Like, it could be begging. We don't know that though, because we don't know tone. But at face value, it say, bro, I asking something for you, and the answer should be yes.
Either way is like a guilt trip, and to your point of pressure, because now you saying the kingdom is mine, God give it to Solomon.
Mm-hmm. So now woe is me.
Exactly. Yeah. Now it's like, you owe me.
Right.
Now
that's what it do seem like. It really do seem that way.
So it's like, no matter if he pressuring or if he trying to like play the victim, he's still saying, you owe me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we come in. Y'all owe me now. So now he's saying, she's saying, okay, say what you want. Like, again, you setting up all this preamble. Like, I ain't one for all this sugarcoating now. Say what you want. Let's see if we can help you. If not, we can just keep it pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Then he said, please speak to Solomon, for he will not refuse you, that he might give me Abishag the Shunammite as a wife.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're seeing, if we remember from last week's episode, Abishag the Shunammite was David's concubine, who wouldn't say sleeping with him, but who was keeping him warm. Laying in the bed, keeping him warm, but the Bible says he did not know her.
Right.
As in, he did not have sex with her.
No sexual relations, yeah.
Exactly. But we see this is who Adonijah wants. Now, the Bible did say she was a very good-looking female,
mm-hmm.
but still, why do you want her?
So, Abishai, what his name is? Adonijah. Adonijah is the brother of Absalom, right? They are full brothers. Same with me saying that, right? Am I right?
Say it again.
Absalom and Adonijah had the same mother and father, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, I think those two probably did.
I think they did. I think
those two did. Yeah, I was just thinking, when you said Adonijah, I was thinking about Solomon. So yeah, no. Yeah, I think those two actually did at the same.
Yeah, right. Those, right. Cool.
They were full brothers, yeah.
So let's consider this, right? Here, Absalom's little brother, Absalom, who slept with 10 of David's concubines when he was trying to make a statement that he was king, is now asking for another one of David's concubines. This is a message, but it's like a sneaky message he trying to come across, because you could have gone to Solomon with this request.
Mm-hmm.
You sent Solomon mother to ask this because you felt like she could have put in a better word. And once you have this claim now, You are one step closer because, and here are the clues.
No, yeah,
Yeah, here are the clues. You already admitted, Adonijah, you already confessed out of your own mouth that I was supposed to be king, and the people thought I was going to be king. So now, when I take my father's wife, I have an even stronger claim to the throne now. So basically he building his case. He trying to make a chess move to usurp the throne he trying to set himself up so he could more easily usurp the throne from Solomon.
And think about it, that's the only other thing he had, because Solomon already got everything else that was David's.
Yes.
Solomon got the throne. Solomon got the anointing. Solomon got the mule. At this point, Solomon got the kingdom at large. Like, everyone knows Solomon is king. So now he's trying to win back some popular votes by saying, oh, if I can get one of the concubines. And it's so shysty because, again, you know what you're asking for is wrong, but you're trying to get someone who Solomon can't deny or find very hard saying yes to. Like, I remember last Sabbath, mommy tell me, oh, someone wants you to do something, yada, 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 right? I say, mommy, how you get me in these predicaments? Hey, right? Because, again, I'm sure, I'm going to say mommy's put you in many predicaments, right? But it's almost hard to say no to your mommy.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
someone...
And half of the time, our minds don't be on one accord. Like, things I would blatantly deny, it's like they're more susceptible to say, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Like,
yeah, I can talk to him for you.
Yeah.
So now it's like, I got to do it now because it's coming from mommy.
Real.
Oh, my.
Because it ain't even like I doing them a favor. It's like I doing my mommy a favor.
I doing my mommy a favor now.
Because she already tell you, yeah. You know what I mean? She already give you her word, and I want her word be looking bad, but I really don't want to do this.
Oh, my.
And so that's the scenario that Adonijah has put Solomon in at this point.
Exactly. So now in verse 18, Bathsheba said, all right, very well. I will speak for the king. I will speak for you to the king. So Bathsheba went before Solomon to speak for him before Adonijah. The king rose up to meet her and bowed down to her and sat down on his throne and had a throne set for the king's mother. So she sat at his right hand. Just look at this. So again, this is still showing how much respect he had for his mother. Because as the king, he bowed down to her. And I just want to point it out, as the king, no matter what, he's still the king. She was supposed to bow down to him, even though that was her son. So that's just one point, like how much respect that Solomon still had for Bathsheba, his mother. Right? And so, and we see he even had a next throne set up next to his right hand. You know what I'm saying? Not any of his concubines, nothing. His mother was also had her throne in the throne room right next to him. So then she said in verse 20, I have one small petition for you. Do not refuse me. Solomon, being the good son that he is, ask it my mother, for I will not refuse you. And this is when you're digging yourself in a own hole.
Something was afoot.
So in verse 21, let Abishag the Sunamite be given to Adonijah, your brother's a wife. And David answered his mother, now why do you ask Abishag the Sunamite for Adonijah? Ask for him the kingdom also?
Right. Since you're asking, you might as well ask him. You might as well ask me if I'll just give him the kingdom. Since you're asking.
Like, Solomon was saying, hold on now. Like, don't you, again, how you get me in this predicament?
Yes.
Like, do you not know what you asking me for?
Real talk. Like, so you asking for this? You might as well just put the kingdom on a platter for him. Because why he ain't ask his daddy when his daddy was alive? Let's think about these things, bro. Why he ask you?
And here's the thing, the reason why that's valid, right? Because technically, Absalom's sin was great because David was alive. When David died, that vow was broken. Till death do us part. David is dead. So theoretically, Adonijah could have very well, at this point, married Abishag, but it's still who he was marrying and who she was.
Mm-hmm.
That would have still given him the credence to say, oh, this is David's wife, essentially.
Right,
David's former wife.
And David wouldn't sanction that.
No, David would not have sanctioned that.
Yeah.
No. So I'm just saying, like, again, Solomon saw right through it immediately. Like, what? This would... I can imagine, Solomon, this what you come...
Like, seriously?
This what you coming here with?
Let me take my bow back, man. You won't make sense today.
Like, mommy, I love you and all, right? But come on, man.
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
How do you not see this a plot?
But then again, I was thinking about that, because I'm like, I used to wonder why Bathsheba even do that. Like, Bathsheba, you think that makes sense? You think that was a good idea? But then again, Bathsheba might have just gone along with it because she know what the result would have been. All right, that's what you want? Because you can get yours if you get that. You see what I'm saying?
I think that's probably what it was, like to reveal to her son that, hey, you got some wolves out there who still plotting against you.
Yeah.
So, okay, I know this could be outlandish. I know you ain't gonna do it, but it's probably to bring it to your attention, because now we see, like, we're gonna get into it, but we're gonna see, like, David, it's gonna be hard to not say David after like 20+ episodes. Yeah, but Solomon was really like, okay, because we see, okay, he said, now why do you ask for Abishag the Sunamite for Adonijah? Ask for him the kingdom also, for he is my older brother. For him, and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab the son of Zeruiah. Like, he just listed off all the ops. All the people who was on Adonijah's side, like, you want the kingdom for them?
Right.
Like, this is what we doing now? Then King Solomon swore by the Lord, saying, may God do so to me. We haven't heard that in a while.
Real
you know when they say that, they serious.
Man, they serious, boy.
May God do so to me, and more also, if Adonijah has not spoken this word against his own life.
Crazy.
Now, therefore, as the Lord lives, who has confirmed me and set me on the throne of David my father, and who has established a house for me, and he promised Adonijah shall be put to death today.
Mm-hmm.
So we see Solomon's like, yeah, that's a wrap.
Yeah, no. That's his death notice. He signed his death notice.
I can't have you around here no more.
Mm-mm.
So King Solomon sent by the hand of Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and struck him down, and he died. So we see this is the same Benaiah from last chapter who was around with Solomon. He is Solomon's right hand man now.
He's the new Joab.
Yeah, he don't play. Just like how Joab was an Ebrahim.
Yeah, that's
Benaiah don't play, bro.
It's a new sheriff in town. So let's go all the way back, because this story is Bathsheba and Solomon, right? Mm-hmm. So when we was introduced to Bathsheba, you understand the scandal. The very next chapter in 2 Samuel, when Nathan the prophet came to David, David said, this person will pay fourfold, right? And remember Nathan the prophet, he came and said, hey, there was a guy who had one sheep, and someone who had many sheep come and stole his one sheep. And David was like, no, the guy who had many sheep, who stole that sheep, he would pay fourfold, right? So that's 4 sheep, because in that analogy, 1 sheep was stolen, and he would pay fourfold. And so Nathan said, you are the man. You understand what I'm saying? David said he would pay fourfold, and he would surely die. So David cursed himself because he was the man. Mm-hmm. And Nathan said, God has put away your sin, you shall not die. But God did not say, you will not pay fourfold. Mm-hmm. And so the thing about that is, David lost, this was David's 4th sheep that he lost. The first sheep that he lost was the son that he conceived with Bathsheba, that died as a baby. That was his first son that died. The second son was Amnon, who was killed by Absalom. The third son was Absalom, who was killed by Joab. And now this is the 4th son, Adonijah, who was killed by Benaiah. So 4 of his sons was killed because he killed Uriah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, bro.
And there's also speculation that the other one right before, who we don't know what happened to him, that he may have died too.
right.
So just saying, just in case some people have that argument, because technically it's like the 5th one, technically,
but
it's the 4th one that we know for a fact
was
killed. Yeah.
Oh wait, but the first one died though. Like God.
Yeah.
Like you understand. So
mm-hmm.
so you could say God killed, or I ain't trying to get too. I'm trying to be
semantics and technicalities now. Yeah.
But he lost 4 sons for sure.
Exactly, for sure.
Because of that action. Yeah.
For sure. The word will not return void. When God says it will happen, it will happen.
Amen.
So in verse 26, and to Abiathar the priest, the king said, go to Anathoth, to your own fields, for you are deserving of death. But I will not put you to death at this time, because you carried the ark of the Lord God before my father David, and because you were afflicted every time my father was afflicted. So Solomon removed Abiathar from being priest to the Lord, that he might fulfill the word of the Lord, which he spoke concerning the house of Eli at Shiloh. That's another one. That house of Eli boy. But
I'm surprised he didn't die, because remember, another prophecy was that all of us can die in the prime of their life.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt me. That hurt me to hear them words though. I'm like, that's crazy, bro. In the prime of your life, none of y'all can live to be old.
Mm-hmm. And so now so it's interesting. So now we're seeing Solomon saying, you deserve to die. But I saw what happened when Saul killed priests. I'm not gonna make that mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake. What you did, all of the goodness you did before the Lord, I can make it count for something. I ain't going to kill you, but you can't be here. You can't be high priest no more. You are exiled. You are banished over there. Go over there and live out your life.
Yeah, and he said, you and my daddy, you all been through some tough times together too. So I give you a pass. I give you a pass on that one.
Exactly. You came at the end and you made some mistakes, but for the strength of daddy ain't tell me put you to death. So for the strength of him, I can let you live.
I can let you live. You good.
And so now, then the news came to Joab. But Joab had defected to Adonijah. Though he did not defect to Absalom. So Joab fled to the tabernacle of the Lord and took hold of the horns of the altar. And we talked about what that meant last week in the last episode. It was essentially trying to ask for asylum, trying to plead your case. So you run into the temple to try to get some refuge, right? Trying to escape your punishment that you are deserved. And King Solomon was told, Joab has fled to the tabernacle of the Lord. There he is by the altar. Then Solomon sent Benaiah, saying, go strike him down. See, I like Solomon. Solomon don't
straight up.
See, Solomon embodies what I believe in. Let's handle business.
See, but David had it in him, but he didn't do it. Because he tells Solomon to do it. But David didn't do it. You see what I said?
When we see Solomon, he's scared. Like he's saying, okay, you know what? I gotta handle business. You in the temple, you thought you were safe. No. You thought you were safe.
I just killed my brother. Who hold on to these horns the other day? I killed my own brother just now, bro.
Exactly. And so we see Benaiah went right to temple. And he said, the king says, come out. And he said, no, I will die in here. So I can see Benaiah was still conflicted. Just the temple dread.
It's the temple.
I won't go in here for real and commit this act.
I want free gun,
So he going back to Solomon. And he's and saying, that's Joab. And thus said Joab. And thus he answered me. Like, what you want me to do, bro?
Right.
And the king said, do as he said. Strike. He said he could die in there.
Yeah. You could die now.
This reminds me like when growing up in your parents, you could get what you deserve. That's what you want? You could get it.
You can get that.
You get what you're asking for.
Yeah.
So Solomon said, do to him as he said, and strike him down and bury him. that you may take away from me and from the house of my father the innocent blood which Joab shed. So the Lord will return his blood on his head, because he struck down 2 men more righteous and better than he, and he killed them with the sword. Abner, son of Ner, the commander of the army of Israel, and Amasa, the son of Jether, the commander of the army of Judah. Though my father David did not know it. Their blood shall therefore return upon the head of Joab and upon the head of his descendants forever. But upon David and his descendants, upon his house and his throne, there shall be peace forever from the Lord. So in verse 34, we see Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, went up and struck him and killed him, and he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. The king put Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, in place over all the army, and the king put Zadok, the priest, in place of Abiathar.
Last but not least.
Shimei.
Shimei, you make it far, Shimei.
So then the king called for Shimei. Can you imagine Solomon? All right.
Nah, you.
I just going through the list which daddy leave. All right, so Shimei, you the last one. Come here. And he said to him, build yourself a house in Jerusalem and dwell there. And do not go out from there anywhere. For it shall be on the day you go out and cross the brook of Kidron, know for certain you shall surely die, and your blood shall be on your own head. Mercy. And Shimei said to the king, the saying is good, as the Lord my king has said, your servant will do. So Shimei dwelt in Jerusalem many days.
Because he was from Benjamin. So it's like, excuse me, I taking you from your people. and David already told him to kill Shimei. But Solomon even granted him grace. Solomon like, I ain't kill you, bro. I can just keep you on house arrest, keep an eye on you too. You know what I mean? Seemed like a good deal. I'd rather not than die.
It seemed like a good deal for real. Like, hey, your life in your own hands. I am listing out specific terms on which, on how you could preserve your life. It just reminded me in the beginning, if you eat from this tree, you will surely die.
Surely die. Just like that.
You got a choice, buddy.
The choice
and the words of Moses, choose life.
Choose life.
Choose life. So now we see, okay, it was going good. And this is where things get, sometimes we get too lax.
Tricky. Yeah.
Sometimes we get too lax in our ways. We forget what we should be doing because we get comfortable. We forget about vows we made because we say it happened so long ago, and surely the king has forgotten what he said a while then. Oh, it's been going so good.
He wasn't serious, man. He's just joking.
Exactly. So in verse 39, now it happened at the end of 3 years. So look at this time frame. 3 years. That 2 slaves of Shimei ran away to Achish, the son of Maacah, the king of Gath. So we know this, like they ran away to Philistia. And they told Shimei, they told Shimei, look, your slaves are in Gath. So Shimei arose, saddled his donkey, and went to Achish at Gath to seek his slaves. And Shimei went and brought his slaves from Gath. And Solomon was told that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath and had come back. So then the king sent and called for Shimei and said, did I not make you swear by the Lord and warn you, saying, know for certain that on the day you go out from travel anywhere, you shall surely die? And you said to me, the word I have heard is good. So why then have you not kept your oath of the Lord and the commandment that I gave you? The king said, moreover to Shimei, you know that your heart acknowledges all the wickedness you did to my father.
Mm.
Therefore, the Lord will return your wickedness on your own head.
Mm.
But King Solomon shall be blessed. And the throne. That's kind of...
But that's some wild last words to hear from someone, bro. I can kill you, but then I can get blessings. You see what I'm saying at the end of the day?
Like, that's wild, bro. Like,
That's
I know
wild,
it's... Go for
I
it.
get it, though. Because he's saying, bro, I can kill you, bro, but I ain't doing nothing wrong, bro. My hands clean to this, bro. You can end up dying because of all of the wickedness you do. It catch up to you finally. You know, but me, my hands clean, bro.
Exactly. And then in verse 45, but King Solomon shall be blessed, and the throne of David shall be established before the Lord forever.
Mm.
So the king commanded Benaiah, and he went out and struck him down, and he died. Thus, the kingdom was established in the hand of Solomon.
Mm.
And so it's interesting, right? So that last line kind of told us the purpose of everything else before. Because we see now it's saying when David died, we almost like promised, like, hey, your kingdom is going to be established, and kind of went through some of the things that needs to happen for your kingdom to be established.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. 3 years into his reign, his kingdom wasn't fully established. Why? Because one of his oppositions were still not taken care of. By the grace and mercy, he was showing him, like, hey, your life is in your own hands. But kind of like an opposition to your throne was still out there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until all of these remnants from the David era, who was dissidents, as I am calling them, dissidents from David's kingdom. It was not until all of these were taken care of, eradicated, some might say, was when his kingdom was fully established.
Mm.
Which is interesting. Like, the justice had to come on the heads of those who had wronged the house of David.
That's true. And it's just good because King Solomon actually listened and executed, because you might say, oh, well, who wouldn't do that? I can tell you many people who wouldn't do that. Saul didn't do that when Samuel told him what to do. The Israelites seemed that even under the leadership of Joshua and Moses, well, not really Moses, but Joshua, when they get into the promised land, they didn't do it. They leave their enemies right there, and their enemies wasn't snare to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that when you play with puppies, lick him out. That's what we say in the Bahamas, bro. Like, a more common phrase is you lay with dogs, you get fleas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so Solomon shows his wisdom early on because he don't play with his food. You understand what I'm saying? He take care of his business quick.
And I think part of that came from David, because, again, to your point, how did David's reign start? David's reign started with opposition.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It literally started with opposition with Saul's son, with Abner, those trying to make a next guy king, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right before David died, he saw that this happened, and David knew the dissidence that caused it. Right, when he was coming up, he literally couldn't go to Jerusalem for years. He was reading down Hebron. You know what I'm saying? And so David was like, "Hey, you need to take care of this swiftly. Don't do what I did and just let it fester. You know what I'm saying? You actually need to take care of this because you almost unite the country faster if you take care of it early."
Yep.
So now we see Solomon was like, yep, I'm not even going to play around with this. We're going to tackle this swiftly. We're going to do it right in the beginning. We're going to quash all rebellions. We're going to quash all uprisings and let the kingdom be in peace. Let's try to, build it better under God. But yeah, so it's interesting. Learn from your mistakes.
Learn from your mistakes. Be faithful to God, And
keep your oaths.
Yeah.
Keep your oaths. So it's interesting now, and again, that was 3 years had passed. And even to the point we were saying before, it's powerful how God doesn't forget his promises ever. You know what I'm saying? And think about the many promises we have in the Bible that are very much applicable to us and are promises to us. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And God doesn't forget about it. And it's funny how we get so comfortable in our daily lives that we forget about the promises, we make to each other and even to God, and we break the promises we make to God. So it's just interesting, man. Even some of the quick deals we make to God. Oh God, if you do this, I'll do this. Arguing with God to bless us, even though it doesn't work that way. But even when God, does keep up his end of the bargain, which he, tends to do so faithfully, we still like, God, I was just playing, right? Like you didn't really expect me to. But man, it's interesting. So overall, what are your thoughts on the chapter?
I mean, it's a good way to start. It's a good way. It's good to be obedient. I think Bathsheba actually was trying to speed up Adonijah's fate by telling Saul, because she ain't come and say, hey, could you believe Solomon, could you believe Adonijah said this and that? No, she said, hey, could you do this? I think she did that knowing that Solomon was going to freak out and handle that quick. You know what I mean? And so we see where people like the Bathshebas, we see the Zadok, we see Benaiah, people that are, well, let me take Benaiah, but we know Zadok, what's her name? Bathsheba. These people were faithful to God. They were faithful to his promise in King Solomon. And because of that, we see they have elevated positions because, they were basically rewarded for it. Benaiah, Zadok the priest, he has the lead priest position. The queen, not the queen, Bathsheba, she has a throne next to Solomon. We see where the reward for being faithful to God, and we see how what happened in this story when you are an obstruction to God.
Solomon obeyed the words of his father David, and as a result, those who transgressed were punished. David is now gone, and there is no one to instruct Solomon, but the Lord is still with him. So when given the opportunity to ask God for anything in the world, Solomon asked for wisdom. But we'll talk more about that on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.